Anything you want to add? Okay. Who do we have as guests today? Go ahead, David.
David Atkin.
Frank Atwood.
Mark Rance.
Michelle Pogue.
Hi, Mark. What's your last name, Mark?
Rance. Scottish name.
Okay.
Good to have you on.
Why are you here, Mark?
Let's see what goes on.
Perfect.
He didn't mean it like
Well,
it sounded.
Well,
That sounded
I think
horrible.
about that like a minute. Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, what the heck? You're welcome at the table.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, you don't have to be back there. hanging out, seeing what's going on.
Okay, has everybody read the minutes?
I did.
Yes.
Any corrections
Yeah, what
other
was,
than Karen's?
what was that? Freedom V, Fo, Fi, Fo,
Freedom
Fi? Was it supposed to be best?
Maybe. Oh, I
It
didn't
says
correct
Freedom
that.
V,
Yeah, I just thought maybe that's what it was.
and I was
Isn't
gonna
that an
respond with
oxymoron?
Fi, Fo,
Both
Dum.
of them, yeah.
No, not
Freedom
Anyway,
Fry.
they've been looked at, and there's still one correction left, I see, so I'll do that.
It's not a tax. Freedom fee.
That's probably been done.
Oh my God, that's great. You need to make a graphic with that,
Yes.
please. That'll probably go viral.
Yeah, but people will start using it. Don't give them any ideas.
No, but we'll get some good shares out of it.
Okay, officer reports. I have nothing to add to mine. Vice?
Nothing to add to mine.
Treasurer?
My line where it says 16 recurring subscriptions and a loss of $20 is no longer true. It's we got 17 and same as last month. So we're even $620, 52 cents a month.
Fundraising?
Just like to emphasize, the postcard that was being passed around is for our fundraiser for Halloween, Night of the Living Status on the 28th. We're going to have Todd Mitchum speaking, and we're going to invite other libertarians to come out and speak as well. So we would greatly appreciate if you could not only show up, but show up with your money.
And your friends.
This is really fantastic.
Well, and the spread was really nice too. What was that in the newsletter with the yellow? Where was that? Where did they see that?
It was probably on the Facebook thing. That
Oh,
was,
maybe.
The giant yellow hand.
Yeah.
Yep, that one was mine.
That was good, yeah.
Thank you.
You guys need to be sure to get high def pictures of this, because I'll send it to LP News, you know, for our update. But I should they, have sent them a postcard. I could probably still do that. yeah, but it can't be cell phone photos. They won't take it. It has to be high def.
Bring your best status costumes. There will be prizes for best costume.
I wish I could be there, but Wyoming Convention bylaws and platform and all this.
Remind, what day is it?
That will be on the 28th, which is at a Saturday. And ask Michelle and Kevin for the address.
You've been north, haven't you?
Yes. Okay.
It's Facebook event.
Other than that,
all over the
nothing else
place.
to add.
Okay.
That's why I
Can you
saw
hear us?
Evensky or something.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, do you have anything to add to your report?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say that we had a really good turnout and a really good meeting up at Todd's place last week or the week before. I wish more people would have come. It was very valuable, and I think we want to do it again. And in addition, Tom Kelly has now put his name forward. So we are gathering more and more candidates. Very happy.
Tom?
Wells County, 50, I think.
Okay.
Kim, I have a candidate for RTD. Are you looking at those elections?
I'm looking at everything.
Okay, do you want me to send you information or what?
Yes, please.
Have them contact you or what?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Just a point of information, Tom Kelly's running for District 50 in the Colorado House of Representatives.
That's right.
Are we putting down all the board members as line holders for the areas we live in right now until we find somebody else, so we have us down?
That will motivate you to find
Some of us
somebody.
are just actually running campaigns.
Well,
That's on the agenda for later. Then.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You or your replacement.
Outreach?
Outreach. Just a couple of add-ons to Eric's thing. It is at our house. We mailed out about 500 of these to a list that was primarily in our immediate zip code. And in addition to that, we actually invited everybody in our association. It's politics aside, you guys are our neighbors. It's going to be fun. And also, regular donors to the party were on the list. So hopefully we'll get, if not attendees, we're prepared for somewhere between 30 and 70 people. But, at the bottom of this, it says if you can't attend, please consider a donation, and we give the URL to the party page for the donation page on the party website. Yes, ma'am.
Can you send me the graphics file for this? You have the file? I want to stick it on LPDS because this is just fantastic.
Okay, I will. I want to do some things with that here too. In addition, something's come up since the report. Some of us here went to an event with Adam Kokesh last year in the Denver area. He's coming back. He's on his what he calls his Taxation is Theft National Tour 2017. He will be in town on November the 11th at a place called Irish Snug. I think this event is up on Facebook somewhere. We haven't posted it to the state party page yet, but if everybody thinks that's a good idea that we promote such an event, we can do that. On the 11th, he's booked from 7 to 9. They're going to do some sort of a chess tournament and whatnot. And on the 12th, which is the next day, we're going to host a meeting at our house again from 6 to 9. And that's when he'll do speakers. He'll speak, and if there are candidates already that want to come and speak, they'll be on the agenda. And it'll be just a fun party time. It'll be an open bar. I haven't figured out how he's paying for that yet, but we're not paying for it. But there will be an open bar, and he has a tendency to, once the meeting's over, if people want to hang around, we tell them we won't kick anybody out until like 2 in the morning. And that's Sunday the 12th.
November, okay.
Wait, you're discussing November?
Yeah.
November 12th for the Adam Kokesh.
It also happens to be my birthday, but that's ancillary.
That's the real reason.
Just so everybody knows here, we haven't been doing this, but in the event that you want to make a motion that is tied to something that's in your report or something you've added, you can do it while you have the floor here. You asked whether we wanted to promote this or not.
Yeah.
You want to make a motion on that?
Do we need to make a motion on that?
No, I don't
Well,
think so.
we're
I
gonna
think it's
spend
your
resources.
discretion.
It's
Are we going to promote it with spending money?
no, we'll just promote it on the Facebook page, on the website,
So social media?
as an event that the party is
I don't
interested
think
in.
there's any reason to make a motion for that. Go ahead and just do it.
He's pretty radical.
I'm well aware.
Yeah, we were there last year.
His whole deal is he's running a campaign already for 2012, and he started this last year. Kokesh, not for president, and he will be campaigning hard for that.
Sweet,
For 2012.
For
For 2020.
Time travel's part of his plan.
Actually, if anybody.
He's running a co-campaign with.
Yeah, yes. Okay, I'm done.
Outreach?
You want me to do it again?
Regents,
Nothing to add to my report.
is Mike Spalding with us?
You meant to say Stapleton.
Whether he's
I
with
can
us
tell
or
I'm
not.
I don't know. More so than others.
Forgive me. Mike Stapleton.
Yeah.
He's not with us. Okay. Membership? Is Steve with us?
Steve Mike is not working at the moment. I told him he could call me if he needs to, but he said the only thing he needs to add to his report is that he needs photos for the newsletter.
I will get him some photos for the newsletter.
I gotta find those, but
I
we can
know.
take more for other things. We need to be taking photos all the time. For the statist one, get some photos there. That's right.
Yeah, I don't have them either.
I owe him some photos too. I told him last month.
I don't know if I can find those.
Well, if I would have known, I would have seen them on my computer. All
Where are
right,
you?
communications.
Wait, hold on. You got me all flustered now. I gotta pull it up here a second. Just remind everyone to be sure to be doing their Facebook posting. We have a new Facebook volunteer. Something I forgot to put on my report is I was interviewed by Reason Magazine that came out a couple of weeks ago. And
That was cool.
I think that's, yeah, I don't have any other additions to that.
Okay, now it's your turn, Mike.
Okay, I was gonna ask at the Living Status Party who was doing that, but now we know. And then Karen posted something that showed libertarians have had declining revenues for the last 20 years. They can come up with why that is. In one of your newsletters, you had a link to financial reports.
Mhm.
And did they discuss why there's been declining revenues? I mean,
Well,
it should be
since
a-
last year, that's typical.
right, but no,
all
but
year.
they showed a chart for the last 20 years.
I can
It showed-
pull that up. I don't think that's correct. I think you might be looking at the wrong thing. I think we've evened out to where we were, hold on, in 2010.
Yeah, just follow your links and
I've got it on my region page, but we're gonna get to my regional report, so
okay,
I'll
I'll do that.
talk about it then.
Anything else, Mike?
No.
Okay, no one's your report.
Oh, Lord have mercy, I didn't get the report yet. Okay, I see what you're looking at here. So 2017, no, it's showing a downward turn because 2000 was a huge spike in revenues, but they spent a lot to do that. That was Project Archimedes, if you remember that.
Yeah, that was cool.
So if you take 2000 out of the equation, which skewed the chart, it's not declining. And we're ahead of 2000, we're just below 2004, and we're ahead of all the years prior, after 2004. So it's actually back up. It's 2000 that's really skewing things. But to go back now to my regular report, let me see if there's a bylaws committee meeting this coming up Friday where one of the proposal that they're voting on is to try to expand the LNC to like 100 members or something crazy.
What?
I know, I'm Dr. No on that. But I'll like give you guys the link to that, but that's pretty much all that's going on with that, unless y'all had questions. I'm glad somebody read my newsletter. That is thrilling, Mike.
Hey, Frank, you have something?
Yeah, just what's the current count?
Of what?
The LNC?
17?
Okay. Traditionally, the most productive number is somewhere around 7 or 8.
Yep.
But I understand.
Well,
Good luck.
Well, no, well, let me tell you what my thoughts are, and this is no secret because I've said this. There's a lot of maneuvering that goes on in the bylaws committee, but yeah, it's king-making, and I don't like it one bit. 17, we actually work pretty well with 17.
Congratulations.
However, if you expand it more than that, what's going to happen is going to be the illusion of participation by more people. But in reality, all the big decisions will be done by the executive committee of 8. So to me, it's an illusion of expanding while actually contracting. And it will be a nightmare to manage and do votes and all that. But the people who are promoting it are selling it as more representation. My whole theory on the bylaws committee is this broken? Has there been a big outcry for this change? I don't think we're there to just cook up changes, which is what they're doing. So I'm not in favor of it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mm-mm.
Okay. State committee reports, technology. Clayton, do you have anything for us? How about you, David, for database?
I don't have anything, although I would ask if you want me to include my report at the end of the board reports, or if so, I'll need access to the folder to write to it.
Actually, David, have you been posting that?
I have been posting them in the database managers folder and sending you a link when I tell you that the board reports are up.
I don't think there's any reason we have to do that. Can you just post it with all the other board reports?
Okay.
I think that might make it a little easier for everybody to
So you
keep
need,
track of where it is.
You need access.
you need access to, okay, I'll
I
send you
can
a
do
link.
that. Oh, you got it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, good. Policy manual, committee report.
All right. Next meeting will be held tomorrow at 4 p.m. We will be going over items to include special meetings and section 1.04 board emails.
Everybody able to make it as early as 4 p.m.?
Yep.
Convention committee.
All right. Let me go ahead and get my report pulled up. We held our first meeting on the 3rd. Michelle and Kevin hosted the committee. 3 of us showed up, myself, Dennis Rourke, and Sarah Cannon. We had one more who was interested but was unable to attend. We've got one more who's interested, but he lives out in Evergreen. So we're going to be considering meeting over digital means in the future to make sure we can include more people who want to participate in the committee. Right now, we are underway to look at securing a location for convention. We've got a couple of different places we're considering so far, and I'm arranging to hopefully do an on-site visitation with as many committee members as possible. We resolved 2 things at our first meeting. First thing we resolved is that our convention will consist of party business and featured speakers. It won't be just a strictly business-only convention. And we have settled on a convention theme, which I think the entire board might find very nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Wait, turn it a little more.
Yeah.
Our theme for 2018
Yeah.
is Rise of the Libertarians.
I like the mountains with the sunbeams. You could do a lot with that. There's a lot of potential there.
Absolutely. 2017 was run for something, and 2018 is, now we mean it.
No, that's really good. I like that.
So do I. It's
Thank
very
you.
nice.
That's the only place I've seen a chicken on a stick where I like it.
It's delicious.
And the county fair.
We're serving that, you know.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, really?
That's pretty good.
So what happened with the idea of hiring a group to run it?
Basically,
Okay.
I can speak to that. I don't think that my sister's in a position right now where she can do that.
Okay.
If that should change, I'll get with you guys, but
Do you have your proposal ready to send to me, Michelle?
no, because I don't want to put, if I ask my sister to do it, she's gonna say yes, and she's gonna kill herself because she's that kind of person. So I haven't put it together. I'm waiting for her to get back from Ireland, and I'll sit and talk to her, and then we can talk more. But I don't think it can happen this year. I don't think it's good for her.
Okay. Keep her for next year.
Yeah.
One second.
Platform.
But just along those lines, well, he's kind of still hasn't given up the floor yet. Kevin and I will both work as consultants to the committee, committed to do that throughout the process.
Kim, go ahead.
Do we have any thoughts on hiring an actual event planner to help plan the convention if Michelle can't do it? Or needs help?
I don't think that's been discussed.
that has not been discussed yet.
Can I offer that as a suggestion? Working in the event industry, that hiring a planner quite often can save you a hell of a lot, including things like 24% service charges.
Your suggestion is noted, and I'll bring it up at the next committee meeting.
Thank you.
All right, old
Hey,
business.
wait.
Oh, no, you
Forgive
missed,
me, David.
you missed something.
Are there plans for breakout sessions or?
Basically, what we did plan on is that we will have like seminar speakers, things of that nature.
Okay.
You missed.
Just reporting from, as your liaison to Center Right Coalition, I'll send around 3 items that are were handouts that might interest you. Also, do I have any Douglas County residents here? Because I have a list of recommended education board members from attendees at Center Right that I trust them, but you can be more suspicious than I am.
Is this the slate that is the,
Preserve the charter schools, preserve the Supreme Court appeals for, I think they're trying to fight the Blaine Amendment and get public funding into charter schools.
what's the name of that slate, Frank?
Elevate Douglas
Elevate.
County.
Yeah. I met Randy about 3 weeks ago.
Okay,
And that's the school board or the
this is school
council? Okay.
school board in Douglas County.
That's going to be more than likely that will make national news. This is a big deal.
Yeah, especially the Blaine Amendment.
And so if you're looking for the 4 names, I've got them. I can read them if you want
Go
them.
ahead and read them off, Frank. I already know who they are.
Okay,
Read them off.
Randy Mills, Ryan Abershell, Deborah Sheffield, and Grant Nelson. And so they're pushing all 4 of them. And when did we, also there's Stop the Shakedown Initiative. Do we want to discuss that?
We've got that at the agenda at the end.
Sounds good. Okay. That's my report from Center Right Coalition.
Okay,
And just send, there's a arrow indicating circulate and just see if it interests you at all. Thank you.
And then we have finalize and charge platform committee and constitution and bylaws committees.
Yeah, we need to appoint chairs for those. I sent an email around to remind everyone who the committee members are, now that the deadline's passed for the appointments by the affiliates. And the persons who have indicated their willingness to serve as chair. So we need to, our bylaws say that we appoint the chair. So platform committee is, the names again were Sarah Ellsworth, myself, Clayton, Michelle Pogue, Daniel Lutz, Mike Seebeck, Chase Dukesbury, Kevin Gulbranson, and Beatrice Sutton. Clayton indicated his interest in serving as chair.
Motion to appoint Clayton as chair of the platform committee.
Seconded.
Do we have any discussion on that?
Call the question.
Any objection? Okay, Clayton, you're the chair of the platform committee.
Congratulations.
And for Constitution and Bylaws, the current committee is Daniel Lutz, Wayne Harlos, Richard Longstreth, Scott Helker, Joshua Robertson, Kevin Gulbranson, Mike Seebeck, and myself. Both Mike Seebeck and Richard, am I correct on that? You indicated willingness to be
I
chair?
had indicated I am going to say that I think it's a smarter move to have Mike, just because he's right now also chairing the Styles Committee, and he would definitely make sure that we maintain Styles probably better than I would, because I know his level of dedication to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, let's give Mike a shot this year. I did it last year, so I don't want any perceived kingmaker status either. So yeah, let's just, everybody's good with Mike.
Mike Seebeck.
Everybody's good with Mike. I'll go ahead and motion that we just appoint him chair at the bylaws committee.
Second.
Any discussion from anybody?
Call the question.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Don't say that. Don't say that. We have to vote on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
calling the
Just
question
leave it.
requires a vote, so just,
He didn't say that. That
Any
didn't happen.
objections?
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
All right, Mike Seebeck will be appointed the chair of the Constitution and Bylaws Committee.
I'll send an email, even though Clayton's here, but I'll send it in writing to both chairs to let them know the bylaws, deadlines and stuff like that, and then leave it to them to take off with the committee.
Congratulatory email.
Yes.
Yeah, you can ask.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
All right. Old business.
Point of order. We also have one more committee. That's a bylaws appointed committee that I missed when we wrote the agenda. We need a style committee report.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we gonna have that on a regular basis now as a regular committee?
Yeah.
We
the
should
bylaws
until
mandated.
it's until the committee dissolves.
Okay, go ahead, Richard.
Sure. So we had our meeting on October 4th. Everybody made it to the meeting. Next meeting was set for 2 weeks later, so 18th, I believe. I might be off a day or two there. Mike Seebeck was the nomination for chair and did win over chair unanimously. So he will be chairing both committees, both bylaws and styles committee, which I think will be good for us. Other than that, we looked at some suggestions that were in the 2016 Constitution and Bylaws and Platform post-convention reports, and decided that that is a good place to start, since there were some grammatical suggestions in both of those reports. And so that's our starting point, and we will continue on from there. Right now, the plan is to meet every 2 weeks, but depending on how the second meeting goes, we may adjust that depending on how much work needs to be done. We'll just have to see how that starts to roll out. So we do intend to use email voting for quite a bit of things, as well as utilizing Google Docs in order to make sure that everybody can view edits and kind of vote on the edits there and use that as a tool to help the committee along. So that's what's going on there. Any questions? Yeah, sweet.
Okay. Old business. We have gotten out of the habit of posting whoever is putting this on the agenda. I know that's probably because 9 times out of 10 it's Karen, but Karen, if you would please put this communications director if you're the one that put it on the agenda. Related to New Libertarians.
Just, we keep updating that till we're caught up.
Yep. And who's handling that right now?
You and Steve? The mailing?
I've handled it in the sense that I've handed in the mailers he wanted. I haven't followed up with him on anything. I can if you'd like me to.
This has to happen every couple months at least.
So, did we get any response from the last mailing?
I don't know. I don't have access to the mailbox.
Well, the other ones I've gotten have been returns, which I've given the day to update the database. So that's where our responses will come, is through the mail. So we have 0 out of 100. Do we want to continue?
Or do they have the website? I assume is on there too. So
The website's there as well.
So maybe they responded that way.
So I mean that we'd have to kind of be able to narrow down as well. You would probably notice it. Have you seen an increase at all from the donates, maybe from the mailers or anything? No.
Okay, so how long has it been since one of those has gone out?
I just sent out a few days ago.
A couple hundred?
I've sent out about 10 yesterday. We're at about maybe 100 right now.
Okay. Well, that's important. We need to stay. I'm going to encourage you to do that every month. Follow up with Steve and make sure that's happening. Okay.
Wait, the fundraising mailers or the new Libertarian mailers?
Well, we'll get to the fundraising in a minute.
Okay, I'm talking about the fundraising.
That may or may not have been.
Well, that's different. The new membership needs to have a separate bid. Anybody that is a new Libertarian, we need to send that out.
So is this the New Libertarian mailing, or is this the fundraising, or is it both the same?
That's fun.
Well, you pulled the contents out.
Yeah, these are the fundraising mailers.
Oh, okay. And are they going to New Libertarians?
They're going to the Libertarian list that John gave me.
So all Libertarians. So we're not doing anything to New Libertarians. Okay.
The new Libertarians right now, that was Steve and you, right?
I know Steve was the main point on that. I just gave him the welcome letter and the donation slip.
Okay. Is Steve able to communicate with us at this point?
Steve, if you need to, you can give me a call and I can put it up to the mic and that'll work fine, or you can message me. Or if you figure out your mic.
I do know he had hit me up a couple of weeks ago about the list of the county contacts and all of that, and I got that sent off to him. So I know as of a couple of weeks ago, he was working on putting all that together.
Steve able to call in?
I gave my phone number a while ago, so.
All right, we may come back to this. Steve, if you can reach us, please try to call in. Adopt a road, postponed it until the November meeting.
Yeah, I just stuck it on there so we don't forget it.
It is still being worked on though.
Who was doing the outreach? Yes.
Yep, Kevin's on that.
Hey, Steve. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Steve, we had some questions about the mailing to the New Libertarians. I think you were heading that up. What kind of progress are we making on that?
I need to get a list together of all the New Libertarians, probably since the convention, and then what I want to do is send out the newsletter with the fundraising letter and the region's welcome letter.
Okay, so you need the content for the newsletter to put in with that mailing. Is that what you're telling us?
Right.
Okay. I'll have something to you in the next couple of days. I had hoped to do that before this meeting, but it didn't happen. David?
Where are you getting the list of New Libertarians?
From you.
I knew that was coming up.
So yeah, actually, if you could provide that, all the new people, then I can at least email it out to start.
Steve, I have, every time a member joins up in our meetup group, they leave their email and other contact information. Do you want those, or do you want the ones who've actually registered to vote as Libertarians?
I probably want those too. Are they in the database, or they're separate?
I have a big pile. We haven't been able to do anything with them yet.
Okay.
Should I send those to you? Give them to the database?
Give them, if they're on paper?
No.
Where are
That's
they?
an email file. I get an email every time
Oh.
somebody joins the meetup. And for one of our previous membership director, I went and pulled all the emails out and sent them to him. But
let's talk about that. Okay.
You want to use D and do the same process and have her do it
Well,
on a single sheet?
they're emails, so
Oh, she's still going to just transpose the contact data to a spreadsheet. I mean, they got to be inputted somewhere.
let's see what it is, and I'll work something out.
should I send you a sample?
Yeah.
Okay.
But beyond that, he's looking for new voter registrations since March.
Let me get that.
Yeah, I can get you a list of people who have registered Libertarian since March.
Can we go back further than that, David? Since we haven't put anything out, we may as well reach back to people that have done it for a year if we have access to that. That's
Yeah,
possible.
we can go back further. We're talking probably, well, depending on how far back you want to go.
Let's go back a year. Let's hit everybody that's a new Libertarian. And as far as I'm concerned, within the last year's new.
You've got a
Okay.
pretty big list, I'm sure, since just prior to last election.
But when did you get the last disc from the Secretary of State? That was August? Okay, so that's pretty current.
So, and if I recall correctly, in my September report, I think I reported there were like 2,000 new ones. So if we're going back further than that, we could be talking 3,000 or 4,000.
We can't afford to contact that many people.
You think there's 2,000, David?
Mhm.
How many were you going to be sending out for fundraising anyway?
For fundraising, I think we established that it'd be around 500 for this year.
Fundraising is more important as far as I'm concerned. We need to get something in the mail to them, even if it's just a postcard to the new people.
But isn't a fundraiser going to the new people too?
Yeah, it's kind of a
Yeah,
combo.
anything
Yeah.
we send out has got to be an appeal for funds.
Right.
And if we do it right, it should be self-funding. I mean, we should be able to get enough new contributions to at least pay for the contact. Not doing it right, we need to figure out how to do it right.
Do you want to make a motion on this, Eric, for a number of people to send out? We'll vote on it, whatever the expense is, it is, but we need to get out, we need to reach out to these people.
Yeah, just from a discussion, I would say we go forward and we pull that list together, then we decide how we want to chop that up. And to your suggestion, take it month by month. Let's do so many periodically and not try to do 2,000 at a time.
We should overlap with Google demographics and find out who's rich.
I personally think 500 per quarter would be a reasonable goal for us to put in place, but we have to meet that goal. We've been talking about this for a long time. We need to pursue this.
Yeah, and I think if we do that and we say, let's do 500 a quarter, we do 500 and we get great results, then we can, let's accelerate that. And if we get worse results, let's go back and revisit what we're sending, and obviously our appeal isn't working.
Michelle, you got something to add?
Yeah. If you have 500, it's not worth going to a bulk mail house, but if you have 2,000, it's worth going to a bulk mail house, having it go out bulk mail with return service requested. It's about half the price. So you're mailing out 2,000 pieces for what would cost you 1,000. So I think you're actually better off if you focus on trying to do that 2,000 first as a fundraiser, and then with whatever funds you have left, whatever comes in on that, instead of putting it back into the pile, use it to continue.
What's the threshold where bulk mail becomes possible?
Well, it
breaks
becomes
down on
possible
zip
at
code.
$100 or at 100 people, but it's not really feasible. 500 pieces, I did 500 pieces sitting in front of the TV the other night. So it's not really feasible. That was $200 some. But you can do 2,000 pieces, and it would probably cost you somewhere around $300 to do 2,000 pieces, maybe 400 through a bulk mail house. If we have 2,000 people we want to contact, let's get some prices.
So years ago, and then years ago before that, twice now, we tried to get a bulk mail permit, which we got. We spent the money, we filled out all the paperwork, and we never used it in both cases. But once you get it, you can do first-class mail, like 3 cents a piece, depending on what you have, and as long as you pre-sort it by zip code. So
you have some experience in this, Mike?
Sadly, yes.
Are you willing to step up and help get the bulk mail permit?
I don't remember how many you have to have.
It's something like 50 or more per zip code to
Right.
qualify for.
Right, and it's
But
not
yeah,
zip
it is
code,
zip
it's the
code.
last 3 digits or
Yeah,
something
the
like
last
that, yeah.
digits of it.
But,
Or you have a 5 digit, then you have a 3 digit.
right.
Citizen relocation
But it's really
But
cheap.
there are mailing houses that you use their bulk mail permit,
We don't
and they
have
will
that.
take the database,
Oh.
they'll
Yeah.
label you just drop off whatever you want to mail. they
And you
label
pay
it,
them
and they mail
a
it.
fee
They'll
per
figure out a way
piece.
to make it work.
Right, but that might make more sense since
Yes.
we failed twice at this after putting effort and money into it.
Eric, you had some data?
I definitely like the idea of using a bulk mailer because that will probably be a lot cheaper than doing this thing.
Mike, is that something you're willing to jump in and help Eric and Steve with?
Perhaps, but it sounds like Michelle has better information than I do. We never worked with a bulk mailer.
I've had
Oh.
experience. I would have to look up. It's been several years since I've used one, but
Do we have money?
you
time to
just
jump
call
in
them
on
up
this,
and tell them
Michelle?
what you need. What?
You have time to jump in on this?
I'll spearhead it if you can help me
Find
get
a bulk mail house, yeah.
I'll spearhead it if you just help me get the ball rolling.
I'll find a bulk mail house for you.
Cool.
Give you price.
How long does that permit last? And it's good for, we can use it while
It's
we
good
have
for a
it
year.
for whatever we,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
pay yearly.
okay, and then that's good for whatever we want to send out,
Anything we
right?
want to send, if we send it in enough bulk where it's worth sorting. And, we tried it, and if you don't sort it right, you can pay actually more than regular first class. And Ralph Schnelllar used it one time and ended up paying 27 cents a piece instead of 3 cents a piece, and it was for postcards, and so it wasn't worth it. So you have to know what you're doing, which, is an advertisement for what Michelle's talking about.
Speaking to what Mike's talking about, the first time we did it, and David was around then, we did a monthly newsletter that we mailed out across the state. And in the monthly newsletter, we actually collect dues back then. And it was feasible for us to have a bulk mail permit because we used it every single month. And usually we put our advertisements or whatever, and there's rules and regulations on what you can advertise and stuff in there, whether it's a fundraiser or something like that. So you have to follow all these rules. If you're doing a mailing every month, it does make sense to have one, but since we don't do that much mailing, I would just use a bulk mail house until we can get enough in funds that we can afford to send out something every single month, just like the Republicans and Democrats.
Well, I'm with Kevin on this. I think it becomes self-sustaining if we put a fundraising tickle in the letter or a separate letter. So I'm definitely behind that. The one problem I have with bulk mail is that if you send it to a bad address, you don't get it back, so we don't have a way to scrub our address.
Yes, you do. There is a bulk mail. You have a stamp on it, and it's a return service request. It's a stamp that you put on there. It costs you extra for that. So every one of the returns you get, you pay. I think back in the day it was like 25 cents or something that we paid for every time we got one back.
But you just pay for the ones you get back. Right.
The first time that it goes out, you can scrub the addresses down.
You're always scrubbing. You're always scrubbing.
Well, especially the first. But yeah. Okay.
This could be beneficial with the full slate push as well. As another way to reach out to candidates.
I wonder if our mysterious postcard mailer is going to strike again.
You never know.
Do we have a motion to get a bulk mail permit?
No.
That's not what they're talking about.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that we keep that option on the table down the road, but right now we look at the first bulk mail. We send out 2,000, which is kind of what Michelle suggested. From that, if we get $1,000 for the permit and that's what the permit costs, then we can look at it. We can begin to self-sustain from there. But pay for the initial mailing first, see what we actually get back from all those newly registered libertarians, and then use with that money in mind, putting it aside, especially in tagging it if we can. We then determine, do we want to get a permit or do we not want to get a permit? Are the mailings worth it, and that sort of thing.
So did I hear you right, Michelle, that if we hire a mail house to do this, we don't have to buy the permit ourselves?
No, we don't buy it. We use their permit. They do all the sorting and they do all the labeling. All we do is take whatever it is, our letter or whatever, you take it to them and you hand them a digital list of who you want to mail to. And they take care of everything and they mail it out to you for a price. It's more expensive than if we had our own permit, in the long run. But for short term, if you're only doing one mailing in a year or two mailings in a year, it's best to use somebody else's permit. And if we're not, as a party, going to consistently mail out something at least every quarter to the entire state, then it wouldn't pay for us to ever have a bulk mail permit.
The amount of labor that's involved in putting a mailer together could shoot us in the foot. We could very easily lose motivation for that. So I think the idea of using the bulk mail house makes sense.
One of the good things about doing, when we used to do the newsletters, is everybody got together and had pizza and talked.
Those are fun.
They were
Sticking
fun.
the labels on.
Really
Yeah,
a lot
great.
of fun. So you actually got something for your activists. They have nothing to do. You have all these people, they want to do something to help. You have something for them to do to help. I don't know if it's feasible when we're talking about as many thousand libertarians we have now compared to what we had back then.
All right, so at this point, we're waiting on you to get information to Eric concerning a mail house. And Eric, you and Steve will get together and talk about making this happen. I think we should put a goal of 500 every quarter. At least at this point, we may bump that up, but I think that should be our initial goal.
So again, I would recommend that we do some sort of a financial analysis. If the savings per piece is so much greater for doing a full 2,000 list instead of splitting it out over 4 quarters, I'd go ahead and go for it.
But you'll get that information from the bulk mail.
Yeah, I'll find out what the charges are on it.
The other part of that is if David gets a list together, let's see how many names we have on the list. 2,000, considering last year's election year and the growth the party had, 2,000 may be a very light estimate of new registrations for the past year. I think it is.
Well, Trump's been helping too.
And we don't want to be 3 years from now sending out something to people that were new registrations 3 years ago. It's
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Okay. All right, so could I expect a report from you by next meeting?
Regarding the cost of using the bulk mail company?
Yeah.
Well, and I'd like us to be able to make a motion on that next meeting for sure about going ahead and spending some money. I mean, that's the level of analysis I'd like this to have.
So get the quote first, and then we can do a vote on whether we want to actually spend the money for this.
Right, so if you two work together to get pricing and Dave can come up with the numbers, see what's most economical, maybe come up with 1 or 2 options, and let's vote on a motion next meeting. That's what I would like to do.
This is not separate from your regular fundraising letter that's going out here. That still needs to go out.
Can I make a suggestion? Let's just do it, right? I mean, we'll get the information, but do it over,
Email.
call each other, email each other. Don't wait till the next meeting.
Yeah,
This is
has
something
I
we should've
100%
done a year
agree.
ago.
I 100% agree. I
Then
want to
we
get it
need a
done as fast
motion
as
to
possible.
allocate funds.
We can do that.
We can do that over, yeah.
Okay.
As long
Once we know
as-
what the
yeah,
cost is.
works for me. So
It
let's do
sounds like it may be almost cheaper to do 2,000 at a time than
Yeah.
do 500 at a time.
Yeah, that's what I.
But we'll find out.
So then, do we want to change that, Wayne, from trying to have it done by next month to say 2 weeks by email?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to, because I don't want to wait until the middle of the holidays before we make this thing happen.
Yeah. Get caught in the Christmas card rush.
Okay, so we'll put together an email discussion on this, and then if it looks like we have some good direction, we'll put it to an email vote and get the ball rolling on this. Okay. Open emails. Karen, is that yours?
Yeah, so I got it all set up. If anyone has any questions, now's the time to ask. So we have the 2 email lists. The one is how we normally sent them, and those will all get posted openly on the Google Reflector list. I emailed party members to let them know about it. I posted on the website, and I posted on Facebook. If it's the rare occasions where it's confidential information, you'd send it to the confidential list, but we need to report the subject matter of those discussions in the next minutes. So it would be legal or something like that. But unless anyone has any questions, I mean, we're up and running. I got it done.
So if I'm John Q. Public, how do I read your emails?
I sent out the link, but if you go to our board report part of the page, I also listed the Google Groups list. You just click on it and it's a Google group. It's a read-only Google group that you can follow all of our email discussions.
So John Q. Public goes to our website because that's the only contact he knows of.
Mhm.
And then on the website, there's a link somewhere.
Yes,
And it's under
it's under
board meetings?
board records.
Under board records?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm going to be putting temporarily a note about it on the landing page as well.
Oh, just to let people
Yeah, just to let people know, and then it'll be more off in the background.
And then if we want confidential emails, we send it to,
Confidential@lpcolorado.org.
and then ones between the members don't get reflected.
Right, it's only the group emails.
Well, this is good because it'll make it possible for the public to see what's going on our board discussions. And I think it'll be a very, very, very positive thing. Okay. Anything else you want to say about that? Okay. Full slate. Guys, this is the big one. This is the one that Joe gave us the presentation on. This is the one that we had the email conversation on. At this point, it's time for me to ask for a quart of blood from everybody, so we know that everybody's on board. And I didn't see any pushback on that conversation at all. So I think at this point,
Well, that's not exactly true, Wayne.
Yeah,
There was some pushback.
well, we had some pushback,
Yeah.
but everybody was in.
There was some pushback regarding the time commitment and the amount of funds that were required. And,
Well,
you know, I do want to talk about the time just a little bit. I mean, this is a big commitment. If we're going to vote to do this, we need to make sure that we're committed. I will be honest, it concerns me that over half the board reports were not turned in on time this month. And that last month, it was a pretty similar situation. And it concerns me that this mailings discussion has been going on for over a year, and we still don't have mailings going out regularly. I don't know. I think we all have a sense of, yeah, we can do this because it sounds like a great thing to do. And I would love to see it done. But I don't know that this board has the commitment required to do it. So I do think we need to do a roll call vote. And I think if you vote yes, you are 100% committing to that. And that's how I'd like to proceed. So I don't want to do a no objection vote. I want to do a roll call vote.
Yep. Agree with that? Anybody else have anything you want to discuss before we do it?
Yeah.
Just a question for somebody who would be interested in serving as a placeholder. Is Joe or somebody willing to basically hold people's hands to get them through the FEC filings? Because I tried to do that on my own. I got lost.
We would have to have, Joe asked that we have members here. Somebody become our FEC filing, or well, not FEC, but anyway, our SOS filing expert.
Well, if we were going for a federal office, FEC.
Federal
Yeah, but that's
office
only if
isn't
you
hard.
over
Yeah.
5,000.
Okay.
So, you know.
Kim, are you prepared to step up and do that?
Yeah, I was just saying that Todd has actually offered to help anybody with the
Sorry, Kim. Yeah, give me 1 second. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying that Todd has offered his expertise and advice for anybody who wants to file for a federal office. I am more than happy to handhold anybody through applying for all the necessary bits and pieces for the state-run offices. As Daniel can attest, I'm more than happy to sit there and go through step by step. So yes, we have support if you want to do it. We are also putting together ready-made box campaigns, if you will, so that you don't even have to think about answers. When the questionnaires come in from media, etc., that we have set answers ready to go for you. You can just copy and paste them in. So line holders will have a very minimal time commitment, and there will be a lot that's available. We have the Libertarian candidates group. We have classes that we're planning for the convention for those people who want to run campaigns actively. And then everybody I know that is involved in campaigns is more than happy to share their expertise with others. So that is always there. But my firm belief is that people cannot vote for a Libertarian unless there is an L on their ballot.
That's the belief, huh?
Right. Kim, as an aside, would you be able to type something up about kind of a step-by-step how-to guide on the federal level and on the state level for SOS filings? If you could do that, I could look at putting together a video and kind of talking people through it. That way we had multiple mediums to communicate that through. But since it involves the law, I want to make sure that we can find a way to get that information out there if somebody asks at any time.
Actually, I believe Todd and I are already talking about putting out videos on step by step.
Awesome. You guys are great.
Richard, you had some other concerns?
My concern, the only concern is what I said at the beginning, is that I'd like us to do a roll call vote. And if you vote in favor of doing this full slate, you fully know what that means. Joe said he's willing to get involved as long as the board unanimously agrees. I also feel like that means that we need to get the votes of those members that are not in attendance tonight to make sure that they're on board. This is a big deal. This is a lot of potential money. This is a lot of time. There's a lot of concern here, and it's okay to say no. It really is. We can still do this on our own, even if we don't do Joe's 100% platform, and we can commit to this to ourselves. But we need to seriously think about this. I think what Kim has set up is great. I think that it'll be fabulous resources, regardless whether it's for this election, next election, any campaigns down the road. It's going to be really useful information, and I'm excited that we go in that direction regardless. My concerns are more directly related to the full slate, working with Joe and moving forward on that program.
Guys, I think that if we don't put a goal in place of a full slate, we need to keep that goal in the front of our mind. But if we make 70 or 80%, I'll be very happy. But we have to keep that full slate. That has to be forefront in our thought process. And I think I agree with Richard that we've had some projects that we've set forth this year that haven't come to fruition because people haven't been fully committed to making it happen. So I share Richard's concern.
If I may, Ed, to remind everybody, what was presented in the presentation last month was that you could expect to be doing an hour or two of work daily on this. And I know that that'll fluctuate here and there as we get closer to convention. It'll probably be more as it's in the middle of December, probably a little bit less, but it's phone calls daily, probably 10 to 20 phone calls daily, that sort of thing. So that's the type of commitment we're looking at here.
Question, are you talking about from everybody?
From everybody. I mean, that's what Joe was saying, is that that's the level of dedication we need to this if we want to do this correctly.
So the last time we did this, it got down to there were 3 of us who just made calls every night. And then sometimes we would meet, like on Saturdays, we would meet at the old headquarters, and we'd all sit there calling simultaneously to egg each other on. And we had a leaderboard to see who got the most new candidates. And it took us weeks of calling, but there were only 3 of us. And that was with the telemarketing company generating a bunch of leads for us to start with. Remember, we did that until we ran out of money, and then we went on and just did the individual calling. But you know, Richard's right. This takes a lot of work. On the other hand, you get a few really dedicated people, you can get done. And I assume we're paying for the telemarketing company again this year?
Telemarketing has come down. I have a source that I can get involved with us. That can help us with anything that we want. And so we might have some opportunities to get that cost reduced significantly from what your past experience was.
They were doing 2-cent calls, and then there was an additional price if they actually answered and stuff like that. But that was robocalls.
Well, this is primarily for the 2018 election, so we do have some time. So maybe the commitment on an hour a day, that might be a little bit grandiose.
We had some discussion with Joe after that meeting at a bar someplace. Joe has done so much work for this party. And we were both amazed thinking back, he was never a board member. So we should never think that if it's going to get done, it's because we at this table do it. We at this table need to get a core group of volunteers.
Yeah.
Most of us have enough going on. You're on several committees, you're doing meetings all over the place, you're chairs of all these committees. You could be the chair of a committee, but you need a core group of people that you can delegate to. You know, David wouldn't have all the contacts that we've gotten at Outreach if it was up to me to get it done. We have a volunteer that steps up and says, hey, give me more. Is there anything else I can do? And I'm sure she'd be great at making phone calls or contacts. And I know Karen and Scott, a handful of people that she says are always willing to volunteer, and then nobody gives them anything to do, so they disappear. That's what we as a board need to do, is go out and build an army. And the army needs to have the right direction to do the work. If it requires nobody but us at this table, it's not going to happen.
So is there any other discussion on the full slate?
Really, the feedback that I've gotten from the counties that have put back on it, it is the same general concerns: is personnel, having enough people to actually commit to do this, and then the cost concerns. But other than that, they sound like they're on board.
They're saying that they could get volunteers in their counties. Was that affiliate you talked to, or to?
That was Arapahoe affiliates mainly is the one who hit me back.
Okay. What'd you have, Eric?
Did someone mention something about wanting members of the board to step in as placeholders?
That's kind of assumed. Yeah, that's certainly part of it. If you're not into that, find somebody to take your place, kind of thing. It would probably be at the state level, but I mean, it would be wherever was needed in those districts. Kind of that kind of piqued your interest. But yeah, until we could find people who wanted to run and that sort of thing, yeah, board members would kind of be asked to be placeholders.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
I can tell you, I'm not giving an hour a day. I couldn't give a minute a day right now with everything that I have. I'm just being realistic. I mean, I support it, and I'll be a placeholder if you need it in my area, but I'm not putting in a lot of time. I already only sleep 4 hours a night.
Turned your hair pink?
It turned my hair pink.
You're excused.
Did we ever figure out how many candidates we would have to fill? What's our
It's like 70.
70 spots?
Yeah, because it's an even year.
So is that state
Yeah.
and federal or?
Yeah, that's
It's 65 for state house, about 18 for state senate, which is, call it 85. Plus you got 4 statewide is 90, plus you got 7 congressional. So you're talking pretty close to 100.
And all those are up.
Well,
Because
that,
I don't think all 7 congressional are up.
Yes, they
all
are.
congressional
Yes,
are up this
every
year.
2 years.
Oh, that's right.
so in addition to that, the way Joe was talking is he was going even to the partisan races at the county and local level as well.
I think what we need to look at is our full slate as a state party is, state elections, House, Senate. We build a structure that can be dropped down to the county level, but we really need the county affiliates where it makes sense to step up and do that, or whatever volunteers we have. That's going to be secondary to the full slate concept, and we can't go back and try to hit dog catcher in every county. And then just to kind of back up to 2016, we were a couple of those people that Joe walked around the room and said, "Hey, would you be a line holder?" And this or that, and we signed up. We didn't know what we were doing, but we walked out of there, and the guy, Jack, was sitting at a table out there, and everybody that was nominated for a position.
Oh, Jack, yeah.
Jack where?
He filled out all the paperwork, carried all that crap to the Capitol building, and told us what you needed to do. Talk to the Secretary of State and sign your forms, and it was basically very simple. And I was amazed that the people at the Secretary of State's office were extremely helpful and congenial.
Yeah,
And
they actually are.
It's not like the DMV. They actually, didn't care if you were a Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or whoever. Here's, can I help you? Any questions?
If the rest of government ran like them, we wouldn't have a party.
There are regular filings that you need to do from the time you declare your candidacy until the election's over. And even that is fairly simple. The Secretary of State sends you an email and reminds you when you're due, and you got a link, you go right into the thing, you click, done, my report's done. It's a very simple process. It's not complicated at all. So from that perspective, the hard part is actually just getting people to raise their hand and say, will you sign up? Beyond that, it's really a lot simpler, I think.
So to me, what it sounds like is we would be more interested in if it were just the state races and federal races.
I think that's,
Not
as a state
county.
party, that's all we can really take responsibility for. We can be helpful to beyond that. And if we've got time, but I don't think that could be our focus.
But still, as David pointed out, that's 100 candidates.
Does anybody know how many candidates we have after the 2016?
Right now, we've got 3 who are declared, maybe 4. We've
Seems
got.
to be, if you went back to the minutes of that convention, there's going to be a list.
There were a lot.
It was
There
well
were-
into the 30 or 40.
Yeah, there were quite a few. I can't remember
Because
the
for
exact number off
2018
the top
so
of my
far,
head.
we've got 4 who are declared they are running and or have filed with the Secretary of State.
If I recall, we walked into that convention and nobody really knew if anybody was running other than Lily and Galen and
Really?
a handful of Matt.
Yep, we've got Tom Kelly, we've got Todd Mitchum, we've got Kim, and we've got you.
That's it.
That's the only people who have paperwork or who have said out loud that I could find
So,
saying, I
Who's
am
the guy
running.
in Golden? Is that Tom?
Probably Tom Kelly.
That's a county seat, though. isn't it?
Todd Mitchell,
Oh, wow.
Golden.
Yeah, there's
yeah,
a guy
that's
running
CB.
for city council in Golden.
Oh, is that John
So-
Keel, or was that last year?
Yeah, no.
So, guys, what it sounds like is that we need to decide it. Do we want to do this full slate of a state house and up? Do we want to do a full slate of that? Are we all willing to make that time commitment? It sounds to me like we're coming to a point of voting on that. Does anybody have any further discussion on that specifically?
So Joe Johnson's definition of full slate is every state office and federal, or does he want
Every
counties too?
partisan
No, he doesn't
office
want
is-
county.
Okay.
He said every partisan office during his presentation. So
But
there
those
may
are
be
not
some,
partisan.
some of the county commissioner will be.
What gets difficult is
Yeah,
going down
and there
to
will be,
65
yeah.
counties, 64 counties in the state. I mean, we can't take responsibility.
So if we come
100%.
up short in any way, does Joe Johnson pull the plug, say I'm out? Like if
I
we're
think
short
what he's
5
looking for
people?
is total 100% commitment. If we go to him and we say, hey, every state race we 100% commit to, and he says, you guys can do better, and we really hit that by, say, November or December, then yeah, we want to try and push harder, and then we'll focus on the counties where we've got a high concentration of libertarians, probably, say, Denver County, making sure all their partisan races are covered. He said he would commit to Weld County. He did say that during his presentation, that he would make sure all of those were filled. So I think that this is almost a compromise to what he was wanting. I don't know if he would be willing to proceed with just that, but I think he would. I think if we said we want to fill every state race and above, I think he'd be on board with that, at least helping us get to that point and then determining where we go from there.
Well, I don't think Joe is willing to drive this bus. He's willing to do Weld County.
He's willing to do Weld County, and he wants to see, he's willing to help guide the
He'll help
bus.
us set it.
Not drive the bus, but guide the bus, kind of give us the map to help us get where we need to based on his past experience.
We've had some discussion at county level for Arapahoe County, and George is very much interested in, from the county party pushing the same initiative down from his level. And we don't have that many, good solid county groups to do that. So I don't know what you do for the other 60 counties that are out there, but I think if our goal as a state party is to walk into convention with a full slate already, and if we could just do a nomination for slate, a vote for the slate, that would be so cool, because that would take about 10 minutes.
I'm so against slate voting.
There's a comment and then Steve has a comment.
Okay, Kim, go ahead. Kim, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just saying we have about 14 already listed.
Do you have my name on the list, Kevin?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Kim?
No.
Okay, Steve?
I was just saying that Josh Thompson is the Golden City Council candidate.
Okay.
Of course,
Would
that's
you
not
restate that,
partisan.
please, Mike?
Steve was saying that Josh Thompson is a Golden City Council candidate.
Okay.
We were talking about
But that's
earlier.
not a partisan race, but that's great.
Good point.
And that's in November 18th.
And Kim, you have me down, this is Wayne, you have me down for Castle Rock Town Council?
Yes, I do.
I move to vote on a motion to commit this board to a full slate of candidates in 2018. And I would like to vote by roll call.
Okay. Make sure that everybody here is aware of that, what that means. Everybody that's on this board will be running for a position, throwing your hat in the ring, whether it's
If needed.
whether it's formal or not. Your name will be on the ballot.
If needed to be.
Unless you
Yeah,
fill
unless we
everything
find
in your
somebody else.
districts.
Exactly.
Just as a point of information, how many of us on the board have already committed to that? You've committed, you've committed, you've committed, I've committed.
Okay. Any discussion on this? Okay.
Is that a
Any
motion?
objection?
It requires a second.
No. It's roll call.
Doesn't matter,
vote,
right.
once more.
Okay. Chair's a yes. Vice?
Yes.
Treasurer?
Yes.
Fundraiser?
Yes.
Campaigns?
Yes.
Outreach?
Yes.
Regions?
Yes.
Mike is not with us at all, is he?
He
Isn't sure that-
sent an
He's still at
email.
work.
He sent an email saying he's not coming.
Okay. Membership, Steve, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Nay?
It's a nay.
Yes.
So no.
He said no.
Okay. Communications?
Yes.
Records?
Nay.
Sorry?
No.
Nope. Okay. That carries. We have,
Point of order.
go ahead.
Well, probably more of a point of information. You're correct on the point of order. On point of information, though, Joe Johnson said that if he did not have 100% commitment, he was not going to assist. We have a nay, so this would almost have to be ruled as a fail.
Although the motion passed.
The motion passed, so we as a board could still do our own thing. But as far as reaching out to Joe and that sort of thing, it is a fail.
Okay. Well, we can do this without Joe. I'm sure Joe will still help with Weld County, but we're going to have to drive our own bus now. Okay, anybody want to talk any more about this? All right. National Platform Committee. Karen, is that you?
Yeah, we need to do our appointment for that, so I'm going to send out the application this week. But we need to decide when we want to appoint for that. So
It's the national what?
National Platform Committee.
So if we give everybody till next board meeting to reply, that would be 4 weeks of applications with no time to review. Is that correct? Basically.
Right, but yeah.
If we limited the app, so if we want to vote for November meeting, we almost need to do applications due in 3 weeks and give everybody a week to review, and then we vote on them there. If we want to have longer to review, then we can say applications are due by next board meeting. We can hand out information, make sure information's handed out, and then decide how we want to vote from there, whether it's further down the line or not. It just depends how much of a window we want to give people to apply.
Yeah, I think, we could do the applications now and then decide how we want to. It's up to you guys, but my preference is after my experience in the bylaws committee is don't give those people a long time to screw with stuff. I will never vote to appoint bylaws that early again.
When is our deadline to apply or to submit our name?
February 28th, and we're not the last state. There's multiple states that still haven't.
I would suggest putting out the application now and coming together next board meeting, seeing how many applicants we have and deciding further action from there. I don't think we need to rush this. From everything that I've kind of observed through bylaws committee, what's going on, I don't want to rush this at all. I like our platform as is. That's more of a personal opinion, but that's my logic for wanting to maybe take this slow, deliberate, get applications first, and then decide the next step from there.
I think that's a good plan.
Just point of,
Go ahead.
well, whatever point of, we'll need to be appointing both our representative and an alternate. The alternate is obviously in case something happens, but also it's an advantage to have the alternate. They're allowed to participate in debate. They don't get to vote, but they get to participate in debate. So Colorado essentially has two voices. Debate's sometimes more important than the voting. So we'll need to appoint both. And even if we appoint it in December, some states are probably holding out till end of February, because I'm not the only one who has this opinion.
That's exactly why I want to evaluate next board meeting. If we only have one person apply, then I will probably suggest keeping it open. If we have 10 people apply, well, maybe we want
to
kind of make our decision from there. So I think that, giving the instruction to go ahead and get that out there is the smartest thing. And then we can keep this on hold business and follow up next month's meeting, I think.
That's basically what Michigan did. They didn't think they had enough applications, so they put it out.
Okay.
On your application, do you think you need to have a box that checks that you're actually willing to be an alternate if you're not selected, or is that?
I can put that on there. I already have the application pretty much done, but I can add, well, yeah, or when we send out the application, we can say that the person, I'll word it in a way that they realize that it's for both the position and alternate.
So it'd be the assumption that, if you got second place, you're actually going to be an alternate. You agree to that up front.
I actually don't think we should vote that way. But it's up to you that we can decide this. I think we should vote for the representative and then do a second vote for the alternate. Some people may have a different alternate in mind after they know who got elected as the representative of two people that can work together. You do not want two voices from Colorado arguing with each other. You want them to be on the same page.
So don't send two libertarians.
No, you've been on Facebook. You know libertarians can argue with each other. Just fine.
Any questions about that? All right, lapsed national party follow-up.
Yeah, we're losing national members. I think what we had last time was a net 30, and this time it's a net 10. That doesn't mean we lost 10, that means a net 10. We could have lost 40 and gained 50. But we need to be getting on the phone or mail or whatever to find out why these national party members have not followed up. Perhaps they just want to hear from the state party. We have, it's either, I think it's the beginning of November is when delegate allocations are set. So we have 3 weeks to get our national membership numbers up to where they're going to be, and that's where that's the cutoff for delegate allocation. So we already won one prize, the platform committee seat, but we want to have the most delegate allocations that we can. So over the next 3 weeks, we've got to push this. Now we're leaving Washington in the dust. I hope someone from Washington is watching this, because they're down like by 30 and we're down by 10. So we're no longer one away.
Did we use up all our delegate slots last year?
Last year we did not.
Okay, so this might not be urgent.
Well, we would like to have that option though, wouldn't we?
Okay.
And the only reason we don't fill our delegation while other states do is because we protect our delegation. We don't sit out-of-state people who stroll on in.
I've been sat as an
There's a lot of
Yes. I'm so against that. I'm glad we don't do that, but that's why ours are never completely full. Except for when it was in Denver and we
That's
put
what I
in
had to do
bar
out of state
and
because ours was full.
bar and route.
Yeah, well, it was an experiment.
An experiment that kept me from becoming a libertarian in my first election.
So this is in your wheelhouse, Steve. Is this something that you've approached, that you started on yet?
No, if David could provide me with the list of the lapsed members.
David, could you do that and get a list of lapsed members to Steve?
National?
Yeah, national.
No, I got a different suggestion here. I'll write national itself and ask them to send me a list of our lapsed members in the past 6 months. And
But does Dave already have that information?
Yeah.
So why bother? Dave has it in the database.
Is it, you have the lapsed national members? Because the way that chart is so funky between inquiries and lapsed and whatever. I could get this from Robert Kraus tomorrow.
I believe I have the expired date on the database.
Well, if you prefer to do it, it's one less thing for me to do. It's up to you.
Suggestion, go ahead and get what you can get and let it compare against what he's got.
Yeah.
And let's use whatever
I like that
best.
idea.
Okay.
And, for the first time anyway, we can look and see how closely they match up.
Okay.
And then we'd have to figure out which one is the most accurate. I think national probably is going to be more accurate.
We'll see.
We shall see.
Next one we have on the agenda is the fundraising mailers, and I think we've already discussed that, Eric, so we're good on that.
Yep.
New business, we have personal contact with opt-ins. Karen, you want to explain that?
Oh, David, did I still have to get you something on that? The people who opted in, did you needed the link for?
Actually, I don't think there's any way you can export those. I think, but if you go to the thing I talked about, there's a column for results,
right.
I think. If you look in there, there's a list of all the links to everybody who responded.
Okay. Yeah, David and I still have to work on this, so this will probably be old business for next time, but we'll work on it in this coming up month.
Okay. Can you remind me what that is? I don't recall.
Okay, when we got all those email addresses that David did a contribution to get, Nation Builder got mad at us because a lot bounced back and they were concerned we were going to get marked as a spammer. So they asked us to do an opt-in email, And we had quite a few opt-ins. Now, those people have already taken a proactive step that they want to hear from us. I think those people we need to send letters to and make personal contact with, because they've already reached out and said they want to hear from us.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have a potential problem, guys, and those of you that have been around a while obviously know more about this than I do. I'm trying to gather information right now, but as you know, we have some. Go ahead, Ken.
This, I think, you're going to be talking about the legal situation. This, I think, needs to be an executive session, to be honest with you. So I don't think this is an open meeting.
I would agree.
Move to take this off the agenda and move to an executive session.
We could do an executive session at the end of this meeting.
That's fine.
Aren't we at the end of this meeting?
That's fine. Okay, we'll move to the end. Video volunteer.
I had someone who contacted me. I think you sent, somebody forwarded to me, somebody who's at the Colorado Film School, and they would like to do some videos for us, perhaps for candidates, to do some like 30, 60-second spots. I told him I was going to put it on the agenda tonight because he wanted to meet with whoever would be the appropriate board members to discuss this. So I didn't really know who that would probably
Well, I've already put him in touch with Kim as well.
Okay.
So that he can, through her, start getting in touch with candidates that are interested in having spots.
He wants
made.
an in-person meeting with some board members.
Well, and I put him in touch with you as well.
Well, that's why
because-
I'm bringing it up now.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
how it ended up right here.
So is he specifically looking to do candidate spots?
He'll do whatever we want.
We'll do whatever we want.
Yeah, that was his initial idea, and I told him we've never had anyone before. What do you want to do? I like letting volunteers do what they're very interested in. But he really wanted to meet and talk with us and bounce some ideas, not necessarily the whole board, but people who would.
Well,
the
Kim
key
is
people.
a big person if we
Kim.
consider candidates. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would think campaigns, fundraising, probably social media, and either myself or Wayne would probably be a pretty good core group to meet with him. That's what I would suggest. Where's he located at? I don't know where this film school is.
The film school is in, I have information. Film school is in Aurora. It's near the Aurora Community College. And the key about the film school is the first year students, I know this because I have a person who went through there. Anyway, the first year students are going to waste your time. So I'm hoping that this person is a second year student, because otherwise they don't have the skill to actually make things happen or get things edited or whatever. And
well, that could be discussed at that kind of meeting thing as far
but
as.
before you guys go a long ways, make sure this is a serious person who's been there past the first year.
So
Well, sometimes people have skills even beyond that, though. I mean, we have people who do videos for national that don't have any education at all. I mean,
I'm just talking about the type of people who are
Yeah.
at that school.
This is a great opportunity for resolutions, for, I mean, there's a
Well, that's what
million
I'm
different
saying.
things that this could be used for.
Yeah, if you have campaigns, fundraising, board, and what else did I say? Outreach, I don't know. I mean, everybody could have a good role in this.
Kim, go ahead.
Kim, you.
Yeah, sorry, it just takes a minute for it to unmute. Yeah, the gentleman's name is Jackson, and he says that he has been interested in political ads and marketing for quite a while. So he is very, very hopeful of being of some use to us. So it is a resource, whether it's a first year or not, that somebody is willing to step up and actually help us with videos. That is fantastic. So I, for one, will definitely be meeting with him.
Well, let's go ahead and set a time, and
I'll hook everyone who's
we'll do a
just.
belly-to-belly meeting with them. All right, good. Now I got things that I've added to the agenda here that I had not put in there before. We're going to stop with stop the shakedowns movement. Frank, you have the floor for 4 minutes, please.
Okay, Steve Kerbal came to Center Right Coalition this morning with a ballot initiative that's entitled Stop the Shakedown. The idea is that fines no longer go to the state, but go to a designated charity on your part as the person being fined, as long as you are not associated with that charity. And so it's, he tells us that the actual law enforcement individuals like it because they would much rather be enforcing laws than simply collecting revenue and additional taxes for their mission is as law enforcement and not as tax collectors. And we've got about a half dozen initiative packages, and if you've circulated a petition, you're aware that there's a certain amount of diligence that has to be done. Do you want to continue, Eric?
Okay. As was explained to me by Leslie Hollywood, I don't have to get these notarized the same day I send out the petitions, but I do have to make sure that they are notarized and sent back to her as soon as they can be in March, because they need to have 98,000 signed by then.
There has to be some education. Anybody that's carrying, that's a circulator, has to have some education. That's state required. So did Steve talk about that, Frank?
No, I did not hear that.
Okay. We might want to, I mean, we can pass one around and get signatures and hand off to Steve, but from us. But I think that before we start collecting signatures, we need to make sure that we're in compliance, because there has to be a little bit of education that's done. Michelle?
There's a couple of companies that will come in and educate you on how to petition. They'll come in and they'll explain, they teach volunteers how to do it all the time. You'll probably get one to come in and do it. And I'm a notary, I can notarize petitions. So if you have a group of people coming in, just set a date and I can just notarize. I just have to, whoever that person is that carries the petition has to be there to sign that they were the carrier, and I notarize that signature.
Yeah, they have to. As an example, if you're knocking on doors and you talk to the mister, he answers the door, and you get a signature from him. Say, "Is your wife home?" "Yeah, let me take it up to her and have her sign it. She's up in the bedroom." You can't do that. You have to witness the signature being signed on the petition itself. So we just have to. There's just a couple minutes worth of education that has to happen to make sure that the circulators are heads up to the requirements. And so we need to reach out to Steve and see if he's willing to spend some time and give that background. It's very, very, very simple. It's a 5-minute job, but if the circulator hasn't had that background presented to them, if the question were asked, then every single one of the signatures will be invalidated.
Some of those requirements are on the cover sheet of the petition.
Yeah. The carrier actually signs the affirmation that he witnessed the signatures, etc. Should be on the petition itself.
Yep, right on the petition itself. It's got only one person may circulate each petition section. You must accompany the petition at all times. You must witness every signature block as the signer completes it. Do not take the petition section apart or remove the original staples. Make sure that the signature block is complete before a signer leaves.
But is there a course in addition to this that petitioners are required to
Say that
take?
again?
You were mentioning, is there a course that petitioners are required to take?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
Okay.
Not a formalized course, but we need to have somebody. I think it's worthy of the attention, because if you make a mistake, you have 50 or 100 signatures, they invalidate them all. Yeah. Not just one, because there's one mistake. So you have to be very, very careful. And I just went through that, so I have some experience with that. We had one of our circulators, the wind came up and it tore the front page off of the packet. Well, she had almost the entire thing filled out. She tried to reapply staples and restaple it. They invalidated them all. Now, we don't want to, obviously, we don't want to have that happen. So that's something that we need to talk about. And Kevin, you have a whole bunch of clipboards in the trailer for this very purpose. But I think we all need to get all of the different county affiliates and development groups on board with this and get a bunch of people out there knocking on doors. This is a fantastic opportunity for us. And if Colorado could get this through, get it on the ballot, I think you're going to see a lot of other states that are going to jump on board with us.
Daniel, would it be possible to have you give kind of the affiliate and development groups a heads up that we're going to be asking them to help with this, and then we can solidify the details, but that way it doesn't come out of left field for them. They're aware that it's coming, and hopefully they can build some excitement at their level as well.
I can go ahead and tell George in Arapahoe County.
And, all of the affiliates say they have volunteers that are willing to do something. They don't have anything from doing, and they fizzle. So this is the type of thing we need to keep people involved. And frankly, El Paso County is the one that complains about that more than anybody else. Now we have something for them. El Paso County is the biggest county, well, second biggest county in Colorado. If they can get 10 or 12, that's a big affiliate down there. If we can get 10 or 12 people out knocking on doors, they can collect a lot of signatures. Or you don't have to knock on doors. You can go stand in front of Safeway, stand in front of Walmart. Now, Walmart does request that you give them a heads up that you're going to be there, but as long as you do that, they'll let you stand in front of their store all day long. Very easy to if you have 3 or 4 people out there to collect, several hundred signatures, in a full day. So I'm very excited about this. Frank, is there anything else you want to talk about on the Stop the Shakedowns?
No, just that's my understanding of it. Okay. Listening to Steve this morning.
Okay, good. I'll reach out to Steve and see if we can do a belly to belly and make sure that we're all on the same page before we start putting a whole lot of time into it.
Well, and it looks like, just so you're aware too, David K. Williams is the co-sponsor. It looks like, or does our co-designated representative. Okay, so we've got 2 names that we can reach out to if you want to touch base with one or both of them.
Just add something to what Frank said. The first place that the fine would go to would be an injured party. If there is no injured party, then it reverts to charity of your choice. Right. And Eric, you mentioned the 98,000 number. Was that his bump number, or was that the total number of valid signatures he needs?
I think that's the total number of valid signatures.
So he was looking to get about 100% more than that.
150,000 at least. Yep.
Well, probably not that high, since this is a statewide ballot. It's not going to be as difficult when you're doing a small area like one town where it's town specific.
Yeah, I'm just saying that was his stated.
On the peripheral areas of the town, you're going to get a lot of people that say, "Yeah, I'll sign that," but they don't live in that town.
Yeah.
So this is statewide, so I don't think we're going to have as much fallout on this as you would in some local petitions. Karen?
Well, on the national level, when we're doing the ballot access stuff, they anticipate a 60% validation rate. So there still is
60%.
Yeah, I was thinking at least 66.
Stated goal was 50% over.
Yeah.
And he actually said he thought he needed about 1,000 volunteers statewide to pull that off.
Yeah.
And the more contentious this becomes, the more likely you are to have things thrown out. If somebody's going after saying, "Hey, I want to question every signature on that," they will toss a bunch of them.
I realize I should have read the summary to, perhaps for myself and everyone else. Shall there be a change to the Colorado revised statutes requiring any financial penalty, including a fine or forfeiture, imposed by a government entity to be allocated first to the victim of the offense, if any, with the remainder of the financial penalty allocated to an eligible charity designated by the person paying the financial penalty rather than being retained by the government entity?
There's an exception.
Pardon me?
There's an exception. There's one of those items they talk about. If the money's being collected for to correct the damage, then it goes there. In a way, it's the victim, but it's phrased differently in one of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Restitution.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
30% of their city goes off fine.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that everybody here is very deeply committed to this. Okay, I'll make a call to Steve tomorrow. I'll see if I can get belly to belly with him and get all the details and see how we can help him in the best way. All right. I'm going to question everybody about where they stand on their business plans. I'm going to ask everybody in front of everybody right here, if you feel as though you've been successful, and if not, how can we help you? Because the business plan that we started with at the beginning of the year was my vision of keeping everybody on track so that we're going the right direction and being successful in what we want to have happen. So I'll start with myself. I think mostly I've been successful at everything that I've been working on. Dropped the ball on a few things, but overall pretty good. If any of you have seen some things you feel like I'm dropping the ball on, I'd like for you to bring that to my attention now so I can get back on the ball. Okay, Richard, how about you?
I think so. On my business plan, I had some things that were personal and some things that were in support of the party. On the personal ones, I think I'm doing well. On some of the more party as a whole ones, specifically fundraising, I think I am dropping the ball. Most of those were to support the directors where they needed to be. I've thrown it out there to offer. I am willing to do what's needed within my time. I've not been approached, but I've also not proactively reached out. So I would say I'm kind of neutral on those points, but overall on the personal ones, attending meetings, getting involved with affiliates, et cetera, I can't recall everything off the top of my head that's on there right this second, but
I dropped this on everybody without notice here. So my apologies for that, but it struck me when I was driving up here that this is something that we're 6 months in now, so it's time for us to visit it and make sure that
I do feel that I'm moving in the right direction. I do feel that there's still things that I could better focus on the latter half of the year.
How can we help you?
Let me know what you need. Like I said, a lot of my goals involved trying to do better than last year fiscally and setting goals compared to last year, making sure that we had convention committee, things like that in there. We've pushed Robert's rules pretty well. I feel like everybody's gotten this, so that point's pretty good. I guess just let me know what's needed and let me know how I can help. If it's make meetings, that's a little bit harder. If it's clicking, that sort of thing, it's pretty easy. If it's sending emails, that's pretty easy. But I got to know what people need specifically that they want me to do because I don't want to run the programs myself. For example, recruiting candidates is one of them to have a full slate. I don't want to go out and do my own thing if Kim's doing her thing. I got to know how I can best be used to kind of partner with and make those goals happen. So
maybe some interaction, a little bit more interaction would be a benefit.
Yes.
All right. Treasurer, this is probably something that doesn't apply to you too much, but.
Well, yeah, I don't even remember what I had my business plan, but I do have something that I'm intended to work on diligently, and I haven't, and that is to generate the thing that you requested of all of us, which is to detail what I do, so that when I'm replaced, I can hand over. This is the procedure that's been working so far. I haven't done that. I mean, I have what I inherited, but things have changed and it needs to be updated. And I have to work on that.
Okay, thank you, John. Fundraising.
I hate to sound like a politician, but my business plan has evolved. Basically, when I wrote my business plan, I had no idea what I was getting into. I volunteered to stand for nomination at the national convention for a state board position, and the state board was like, okay. I think the biggest thing that I grossly miscalculated on my business plan was just the wealth of experience and knowledge that is around this party. People who come to these meetings, who sit on this board, they've been around the block before. They've done a thing or two. People have done a bit of the musical chair. Somebody who sat in one seat has sat in other seats before, and I failed to take into account the experience of people who came before me and the willingness for them to help me out. So that I completely neglected in my business plan. Other than that, it's kind of been a Daniel will be familiar with this euphemism, kind of like drinking from the fire hose a little bit. But I could say that even though I didn't quite set out goals that I anticipated would be followed through on, I think I've stuck to the spirit of my business plan, that is working with new ideas and trying to work with other people to make sure we can have successful fundraising efforts. And I think it's coming together pretty well so far.
How are you doing with the phone calls?
The phone calls, that's something I've completely dropped the ball on simply because my phone is garbage. My plan is to actually get a new phone at some point because my current phone is driving me insane.
It's going to be a priority because the phone calls, I mean, Clint Jones is your predecessor, and he was very effective on the phone. He's willing to spend the time with you, but you got to get belly to belly with him. Talk to him. Or he'll, even if it's on the phone, talk to him. But if you're having a problem with the phone, Eric, then that's something that you've got to address.
I've got a solution.
Go ahead.
So, solution to a phone issue. I know you have access to a computer. We do meetings all the time through that. Your audio quality is good. Your mic's good. Google Voice will give you a free phone number, internet-based phone number. Phone problems eliminated.
Cool.
Good idea. Thank you, Richard.
Well, and you could pay a small fee and do Skype.
You could do that, but Google Voice is absolutely no charge, and it can call 90% of all numbers.
I remember Skype.
Now, I would also encourage Eric, in order for you to get back on track there with the phone calls, to reach out to Clint Jones. He'll take the time. He'll talk to you on the phone. He'll do a belly-to-belly meeting, whatever you want to do. But he was very successful on the phone. He was also very successful with the mailers that he sent out. So take advantage of his experience. He'll tell you what stuff worked and what stuff didn't, so that you don't repeat the mistakes that he made, and so that you can take his successes and then go forward from them. So may I ask you to make sure you make that call to Clint here next week?
Yep, I'll talk to Clint. I do want to add one more thing.
Okay.
Michelle Pogue has been a tremendous asset, and she has helped me out exponentially. I wouldn't even know where I'd be without her help.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle.
Wayne.
Yeah.
Eric, I noticed on your plan here, I was able to pull up the plans real quick. You were trying to get 30,000 raised by fiscal year 18.
Like I said, my plan has evolved.
That's kind of what I would encourage you to look at too. Is obviously that number's probably a little unattainable, but I would look at the next 6 months and come up with a serious aggressive number and see kind of what's realistic, and maybe talk with Wayne about what he also feels would be good if you get the phone calls going and that sort of thing. I think keeping 30,000 for the initial start of the year was a good idea. I think it's unrealistic now, and it will only help you to set a more realistic goal for the last 6 months and have something to go after that's a little bit more realistic. So that'd be my encouragement to
Don't
you
cut
on that
that 30,000 in half. Make that half more reasonable. But we got to get on that, because frankly, without fundraising, we have nothing in this party. We can't communicate with people. We can't do the outreach booths. We can't host the events that we want to host. So unfortunately, that's all on you, Eric. And I would encourage you to bring get some volunteers to help. Reach out on Facebook, see if you can get some people to step up and help. So if you need our help, I'll tell you right now,
Yep.
Richard and I are both willing to step up, and both of us have we have some experience. I generated more money for the party last year than our fundraising director did, just because of a few phone calls. And those are the things that make the difference. David?
We have an underutilized resource in our database. One of the reasons for purchasing the emails was to give us a free way to reach out to our members. And we could use that for fundraising. And
I
other
agree.
things.
One thing I can use your help with on that, David, is those emails that go out sometimes that sort of look like web pages, kind of?
Mhm.
I need help figuring out how to make one of those.
Okay.
Because now I finally got the announcements email, thanks to our awesome technical director here. So now it's like, yes, I can finally send these emails and not have to worry about my inbox getting blown up.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to reach out to David here in the next week or two, and get those emails going out, because those are free. I mean, there's no reason for us not to have fundraising emails going out on a monthly, every 2 month basis, whatever that magic number is. You want to send them out often enough to keep people's attention, but not enough to annoy them. So I don't have a good perspective as to how often that should be.
Well, we've got enough that we could do fundraising emails every month and not hit people more than once.
More than once a year?
Yeah.
Okay. Break that down. Work that out so we have something going out every month, because we need to have those checks or those donations coming in on a regular basis. All right, awesome. Thank you, David. And I'm trying to rush us, guys, because we're running out of time here. Kim, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. How do you stand?
I think we're making progress. I didn't get the videos made as quickly as I would have liked, but they are underway, so that is a good thing.
Is there any help you need from us?
At the moment, not really. The only thing that we really, as I say, are working on is the idea of getting as many libertarians on the ballot as possible. That's already a plan that we have in place. We're working on the sort of candidacy in a box, if you like. And so things are ticking along. So
good. Thank you. Outreach.
I think we've participated in several fairly successful events. People that have attended and helped and volunteered with some of those events have, I think, made some very encouraging comments on the type of organization that we've brought to those events and set up and tear down and the materials that are available. We inherited a trailer that just had virtually everything tossed in it. First thing we did was take all of that out. I used up half of my garage for a period of time. Since built shelving in that trailer, everything is accessible and organized. So when I get ready to go to an event, it's about a 10-minute process to pull what I need and load up the truck and go. And
have you been successful disposing of the chairs?
The chairs are still there. We're probably going to use them at some of our hosted events at our house coming up.
So good thing you didn't get rid of them.
If I do have 70 people show up for a party at the end of October, it'd be nice to have those extra 30 chairs. So they are there. They're not in the trailer. They're in the new barn. So I think I'm on track for most of what I had in there. I had no intention of doing it in the first couple of months, and we've got more time.
Some of your events, and they've been dynamite. The only thing I can think of, you asked for suggestions. I think gun shows is something for us to still keep our eye on. Tanner is that's the big show, and I think they have several shows coming up between now and the end of the year. So if you have any interest in that, Kevin, I think that's a way to keep the ball rolling here.
And I'm not. I will go through and look at, and I have looked at the events we participated in the past, and from the reports from prior outreach directors, are those worthwhile to go forward with? I will constantly put out the appeal, because I'm not going to do this alone. I'm not going to go and do a 3-day event or a 2-day event, set up booths, stay there from that morning to close, and tear it down. If there's not at least 2 or 3 people that say, "Hey, you should do this event," I'll do it. If you're there, we'll go.
Have you had good success with the affiliates and the development groups helping you with this?
I haven't really seen any of them step up as a part of those groups. Individuals within those groups, certainly I've got a core group of people now, but they're not necessarily representing their local affiliate.
Okay. Daniel, would you put that on?
I'll reach out. Yeah.
And again, my appeal would be anybody in any local affiliate that has something going on in their area that they would like the state to help them and participate in. I will be their partner all day long. We'll foot the bill. Like I said, there's a couple of different types of resources. There's financial resources and there's human resources. And I'm not going to pay $300 to be at an event and not have somebody to work it. And we fortunately went down to Pueblo. Did a 3-day event that was ridiculous hours. It was open from 10 in the morning till midnight. And Mike Stapleton stepped up, and he had support for the entire run. He actually did stay open until midnight one night, and one night he closed early because there was.
I called him to see if he needed any help. He said, "No, I got it.
Got it covered." I said, okay,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
I was there to set up on Friday, licensee for a while, and I was there Sunday afternoon to work the event and tear down. And other than that, he had it all day Friday, all day Saturday, Sunday morning. That's what we need if we're going to be successful in an event. It's not going to be me showing up in Pueblo with a truck and a couple of supplies and tables and tent.
Bruce was there too.
Because we got to kind of
Bruce
rush this along a little bit. We're
Bruce
running out of
Sunday
time here. So yeah, Kevin, I've been to your events. They've been dynamite.
Thank you.
All right, Regis?
The only thing I would revamp from what I set out when I started was I'd set a goal to get half of the counties at least to development group status, and that's a bit lofty of a goal, it would seem. So I think I'm going to refocus down to a regional level and look at getting 1 or 2 regions to full capacity, at least to development group status, before we start looking at half or a quarter of the state or anything like that. Other than that, my goal of getting 2 more development groups affiliated is fairly well on track. Denver's the next one looking at affiliation.
That's right. My suggestion is that any changes that you want to do to your business plan, 6-month mark, which is where we are right now, is the time to do that. But I want you to call me or meet with me again, and then let's revisit and make sure that we're on the same page for the balance of the year, or the balance of the fiscal year, if you will.
And that's pretty much all I have.
Thanks, Daniel. Richard, you had something?
Yeah. Regional representative, your original goal was to have somebody in place by October, December, I'm assuming, for the metro region. Do you need help with that? How's that coming along?
I'm going to be focusing on getting Denver affiliated before we look at a regional representative for that region. Once we get them affiliated, that'll be, I think, 4 of the 6 counties in the metro region that will be affiliated, and that'll be something that a representative can actually work with.
Is there, okay, and that's fine. Is there somebody that you're kind of working on succession planning with in particular? Because that was part of the goal, was to have that person kind of act as region's director if you weren't able to, and training kind of the next one.
There's a couple of people that I've been eyeballing from a few of the different counties, but no one person that I'm ready to throw a name out for yet.
Okay.
Membership, Steve, you with us?
Yep.
All right. I know you've had some kind of tough things because you haven't been getting the help on the content of the newsletter. So with the exception of that, where do you stand on following your business plan?
Well, I think that's the problem, is that I'm basically bogged down with the newsletter, and there's still a real lack of material just for this issue. And then, I've got to figure out who, I'm sending it to the new members, all members.
Okay.
Everybody we have emails for?
Yeah, I figure I'd start there with the email, because that's free. But, on top of it too, I've been trying to find an editor, and that hasn't worked out. So yeah, it's the newsletter is really, it's an anchor.
Well, that kind of falls on us because we all promised that we'd help you with that, and I know that I dropped the ball on that. So I'll take some responsibility on the stuff that I promised you that I haven't come up with yet. But guys, we all need to help Steve with content for the newsletter. His job is not to create the newsletter. His job is to compile the newsletter. We need to put the information together for him so he has something to send. Eric, you could do an interesting graphic that he could put in the newsletter. Those of us that are involved with our affiliates, we can do reports, activities that they're doing, pictures, anything that we could send to Steve and put together a simple article. That's going to make his job possible, but he can't do it without our help here. So I'm going to encourage everybody here to help Steve. And Steve, if you have something specific that you need, please send out an email to everybody so that it'll be a reminder to us to provide information or whatever else stuff you need. Karen, do you have something to add?
Also, Steve, you might want to look at on LPedia, and I can send you the link if you need. There's old content that we've published before that's timeless, that we already own, And you could start raping and pillaging those old Colorado liberties. I'll send you the LPDA link where they're all at, but there's some fantastic material there.
All right, thank you.
And Steve, did you get the 2 articles I sent in?
I did, thanks.
All right, Steve, if there's any help you need, reach out to us. If you need to revisit your business plan, just go ahead and make the changes, then meet with me and we'll discuss it. But I think part of the problem that you've had has been our problem because we haven't been helping you in the way that we promised. So my apologies for that. Karen, how about you, communications?
I think everything's been pretty much on track. I had it up here on my screen and then I lost it. And it's been somewhat of a slow news cycle, so we do need to do more press releases. So that's something I still need to work on, but everything else I think has been on track.
How many op-ed writers do we have now?
We have one really dedicated one being Jay,
Yeah.
and we have a list of people that occasionally contribute, but Jay Stooksbury is our primary one. And I just wanted to interject something here. It has nothing to do with my business report, but just as an FYI, when I was looking at email stats, we did raise $36 from our opt-in email. Somebody liked that we were doing, I'm not the opt-in, I mean the transparent emails. So someone goes, hey, and then they donated money. So that was good.
Style guide?
Okay, the style guide is similar to the policy manual. I'm not doing them both at one time. So that was that's more of a 2-year goal because that was one of the things I campaigned on. So once the policy manual is done, then I'm going to start on the style guide.
Mike is probably, as a records director, that probably the business plan really doesn't affect you very much.
Although there are a couple things.
Okay, shoot.
We're going to have to update the passwords database. I was checking them, and some of those passwords are no longer valid. So I don't know if Clayton's been changing everybody's password for security purposes.
Oh, I changed my password.
Okay, so that's probably happened with others as well. So I need to update that. I'm behind on that. And the motions database has slipped back a little bit. So yeah, I have a couple things I can work on too.
All right, good.
What about the dates database calendar?
There doesn't exist one. Well, we have one that started, but no, we don't, because a lot of the dates, most of the dates are to do with like when People's Fair deadline and all that kind of stuff. And then the other dates are in our bylaws mostly, which are when things have to be, or candidates have to register and stuff like that. So
how often do you visit them, Mike, to make sure that we're on
never
meeting all of our
never. And one way I could do it is every month I look at it and then bring it up in the meeting if there are any dates coming up, which might be useful for us.
Probably be good to be on the report. That would just be a line on each report.
Nobody looks at those.
I read your
I'm the only one.
I read
everyone's
reports too. Okay.
Everybody should read everybody's report so that if there's any questions that they can bring to the table, they can do it during the officer reports. It doesn't take that long. With the exception of Richard and Karen, everybody else's report is this long.
Well,
just saying.
Mine's like 5 pages, but there's not a lot of information.
Yeah, I caught on to that after the first time.
I do have a suggestion. Yeah, you're a good example, and so are you. Rather than having to go through the 5 pages, that you basically have a format and try to find what's new. Is there some way you can highlight any changes from previous?
Yes, create a regional representative and start having the regional representative report to me what's going on in the region, and then I collapse all those counties down to one regional report that I summarize based off what I got.
Yeah, well, that's an idea. But I mean, probably 80% of your document doesn't change from one month to the other. 90 probably. Can you highlight those things that are new? Make them bold or do something so that
Well, that'd be a pretty good time saver. Good idea, Kevin. Is that something that
maybe
would be fairly easy?
Maybe. See, here's my position is on the report. To me, it's important to always call out the responsibilities of the job and say what you're doing to meet or not meet those positions and have an explanation as to why. So that's why mine's so long and kind of
I'm not saying
repeats
there's
a lot of
anything wrong
stuff.
with your format. It's just I don't need to read that 90% every month unless I want to go back and read. There are. We find the lines. That
I'll see what I can do on mine. I don't know for sure if I can, but I'll see what I can do. I'll look at it.
Guys, that's all I have. We have a motion to adjourn.
Before
something
that,
else?
we were
It is
supposed to
9:00.
get
Maybe
into
we have a point of order.
Oh, that's right.
9:05.
Oh,
And the
God.
No,
agenda's
but we
already wrapped
have
up.
hard set time, so it's.
So we're gonna have to, do we have a motion to extend the meeting for, how long do you think we need?
No, I actually have a motion to set a special, I think we should set a special electronic meeting to discuss the legal issues. Everyone's tired now. It's 9:00.
Yeah,
And we
should
have
not
guests
do
that we'd have to send out of the room, and I think that's kind of rude. So why don't we just do a special electronic meeting to discuss it?
We
still
can
have
test
to
out the
talk to Starwood.
confidential.
There you go.
All right. We'll do it.
Okay, well, back to the old question. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Not necessary.
Disagreement? No? All right, we are adjourned.